I'm the religion that, to me, is the realest religion there is. I believe in God. I try to pray to God every night as I pass out.
Right.
And I think that's, and to me, religion, my idea of religion is this. I think that if you, I learned this in jail, because I talked to every God there was in jail. I think that if you take one of the O's out of good, it's God. If you add a D to evil, it's the devil. I think some cool motherfuckers sat down a long time ago and said, let's figure out a way that we can control motherfuckers. And that's what they came up with, is the Bible. Because if the guy wrote the Bible, I'm sure it would have been a revised copy by now. You know what I mean? Because a lot of shit has changed. And I've been looking for this revised copy, and I don't see it. I still see that same old copy that they had from then. And I'm not disrespecting anybody's religion. Please forgive me if it comes off like that. I'm just stating my opinion. I feel like we get crucified. I mean, the Bible was telling us all these people did this because they suffered this much. That's what makes them special people.
Right.
I got shot 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know what I mean? And I got crucified to the media. You know what I mean? And I walked through with the thorns on. And I had shit thrown on me. And I had the thief at the top. I told that nigga I'll be back for you. You know what I mean? Trust me, this not supposed to be going down. I'll be back. So I'm not saying I'm Jesus, but I'm saying that we go through that type of thing every day. We don't part the Red Sea, but we walk through the hood without getting shot. You know what I mean? We don't turn water to wine, but we turn motherfucking dope fiends and dope heads into productive citizens into society. You know what I mean? We turn money. We turn words into money. You know what I mean? What greater gift can there be? So I believe God blesses us. I believe God blesses those that hustle, those that use their mind, and those that overall are righteous. I believe that your karma, everything that you do bad comes back to you. So anything that I'm doing that's bad, I'm going to have to suffer for. But in my heart, I think what I'm doing is right. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm going to heaven. You know what I mean? And I think heaven is just when you sleep with a good conscience. You don't have nightmares. And hell is when you sleep, the last thing you see is all the fucked up things you did in your life. And you just see it over and over again. Because you don't burn. Because if that's the case, it's hell on earth. Because bullets burn. You know what I mean? It's people that got burnt in fires. That means they went to hell already. You know what I mean? All that is here. So what else? What do you got there that we ain't seen here? What, you gonna walk around aimlessly, the zombie? Nigga, that's here. You ain't been on the streets lately. You know what I mean? What heaven is now. Look, we sitting up here, live big screen. It's heaven for the moment. You know what I mean? Hell is jail. I seen that one. Trust me, this is what's real. And all that other shit is to control you. If the churches took half the money that they was making and gave it back to the community, we'd be alright. If they take half the buildings that they use to praise God and gave it to motherfuckers who need God, we'd be alright. We be alright. Have you seen some of these goddamn churches lately? It's ones that take up the whole block in New York. It's homeless people out here. Why ain't God letting them stay there? Why these niggas got gold ceilings and shit? Why God need gold ceilings to talk to me? Why do God need colored windows to talk to me? Why God can't come where I'm at, where he sent me? If God wanted to talk to me in a pretty spot like that, why the hell he sent me here then? You know what I mean? That make ghetto kids not believe in God. Why? So that's a wrong religion. I believe in God. I believe God put us wherever we want to be at. Then it makes sense that God will put us in the ghetto. That means he wants us to work hard to get up out of here. That means he's testing us even more. That makes sense. It makes sense that if you're good in your heart, then you closer to God. But if you evil, then you close to the devil. That makes sense. I see that every day. All that other spooky shit don't make sense. And I don't even believe, I'm not dissing them, but I don't believe in the brothers. I was in jail with them and having conversations. Brothers, I'm God. If you God, open the gate for me.
Yeah.
You know how far the sun is and how far the moon is? How the hell do I pop this fucking gate and get me free up out of here? Then I'll be a 5% for life. Well, never seen it.
Anytime the man spends $9 billion in a Hubble telescope, you best believe he ain't just watching those stars.
Thank you, sir.
Because he built NASA for that 30 years ago.
That's right.
You see what I'm saying? Now, so my thing is this. Just let nobody fool yourself.
That's right.
You can't and you won't live in a society in a harmonious level with this beast that's running. And there's only one way that you're going to have to be free of him, and that's getting him off the planet. I'm going to give you a certain amount of books. I'm going to give you things that was hidden for you. Yes, you need to go back. Now, number one, I'm a scholar myself. I've spent over the last $5, $6, $7, $10,000 in books and scholarship. I went to Clark Atlanta University, which is called now, it was Clark College when I went there, and I went to Benedict College in Columbia, South Carolina, another historical black college. Go back and you need to read one particular book that all scholars have negated, and this particular book is the message to the black man. Now, the reason why I'm going to tell you why you need to go back and you need to read the message to the black man by Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because I quote this, and this is what the white boys told me. They said, we read your Diop, they said, we read your Dr. Ben, and they're only quoting history. But the only thing that comes close to the actual science that is being banned, that is coming from England, and that is coming to the white boys are dealing with, is the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We want to put this down because, number one, some of the stuff I want to be giving you is this. Number one, we got to understand what they're not going to tell you is we have archaeological and anthropological evidence now that this European is created. We have the evidence now. I just printed a new book called The Human Artificials. The Human Artificials. And this book, my name is Bobby Hemmett, and this particular book has the actual evidence that's actually come down the tube. Now what has happened is some book by the name of T.H. Falvey. It is not a book that is for sale. It is a book that was pure research. This particular book was printed to give to certain university in research teams in 1967. It never was published as a book for the public. And they sent some down to the Black Negro Buck Bankston Seminary, ITC, for some reason. Because I'm quite sure they figured these niggas won't read it, and if they did, they won't know what it is. So they sent it to them in 1972, and they held it up until 1992 for 20 years and knew what they had, and then Emory University came back in the library and stole the book out of it. So I went to Emory University and stole the book from them. Some of the archaeological evidence on these coming from the translation of the papyrus is based on Alan H. Gardner, 1935, the Hieratic Papyrus of the British Museum. Alan H. Gardner is the grandfather of Sir Martin Bernal that you know of, who wrote Black Athena. Alan H. Gardner is a hieroglyphics expert, a Medunetta expert. Translated the Hieratic Papyrus of the British Museum that was given to you. When they say hieratic, we're talking about papyrus that's over 5,000 years old. Anywhere from 5,000 to 3,000 years old. And in there they tell you that the European is nothing but the typical foreigner, and who is in fact Satan, the devil, just in the papyrus. It says in actuality that this particular European is a person that is has a restless nature. They said that they didn't call it Europe at that time because it was right. They said miserable Asiatic. But they was talking about that part of Asia, because there were several parts of Asia, but they was talking about that particular part of Asia at that time because they specifically say the mountains where he lived are the mountains give him poor communication based on the mountains where he lived. The water supply is wretched. It makes him lead a nomadic lifestyle. He is murderous and quarrelsome and has a reprehensible sex act, which means that he is asexual, which means bisexual, and all of them, whether they're the most macho people in the world, they are bisexual people by nature. You see what I'm saying? Bisexual people by nature. And this is what you have when it comes. There's a new book out called Bisexuality in the Ancient World, put out by Yale University Press, fall 1992. Yale University Press, Bisexuality in the Ancient World. Just go to your main bookstore and try to look it up. And they say, quote, first bisexual nation, Greece. You see what I'm saying? Now, they don't say homosexuality because they're trying to give you a key. They're trying to give you a lifestyle of a race of people. See, they misconstrue. They say that homosexuality is a freak of nature, but they say bisexuality is a race of people. There's the Herman Keyes papyrus. Herman Keyes, homosexual papyrus, talking about Set Typhon who rapes Horus, and Isis comes down and tells him to put his hand between his behind his buttocks to hold the semen, and they're talking about the nature of this miserable Asiatic, this European. In the we also have the historical documents of Yakub. You see, we snubbed the man with the 4th grade education, and we uplifted the Uncle Tom Boulay nigga, Martin Luther King. We snubbed him as scholarship. And now come to find out through all of the Afrocentric movement that has died down within the last 2 years, it's gone now. They done worked Pope Dr. Ben and John Henry Clark to death. And now they're old and blind and all this type of stuff, and you still ain't out on nothing. So you know more about Egypt and you know more about Africa, and take all these doggone trips to Africa, but your people in the worst shape. And because of last week, it's over for you. Because King Alpha Plan will be enacted on your ass no more than later than this year, because this crime bill is coming, and this crime bill is straight martial law. They killed David Koresh because David Koresh was not because he learned no sailors, summon seals, and he was no Jesus Christ because he was a white boy. They killed David Koresh because they understood that David Koresh had tapped into the computers of Bill Clinton and had found out about this crime bill that was going to pass 2 years later, or a year later, and they had to drop the bomb on him and ISIS behind before he got it out because he was going to tell everybody because it was about martial law. Under the head of the Illuminati, because Bill Clinton is nothing but the yes man, but the real president of here is the skull and bones man called Al Gore. Remember the Al Gore? Remember Al Gore ran for president? In 1988, he couldn't win. But they had Bush, so they said it don't make a difference. Just trying him out for the field. So they knew he couldn't win again because they knew that America wanted another John F. Kennedy with a head full of hair. So they put the image of a president that the people wanted, including black people, because you ran under talking about our first lady, Hillary Clinton. So you voted for this particular person, but the real person was Al Gore, who was vice president, who is actually president, and who actually works for the Skull and Bones and the New World Order. So now the crime bill that he tapped into was going to talk about this particular martial law. And they staged the martial law as far as how they can get FEMA in place, the Federal Emergency Management Act that will put you under martial law. They had to stage a trial run, and they staged that trial run to see that they could put it in place based on the Rodney King incident. You refuse to look for things in the spirituality. And you are the people that can carry it out based on your melanin. Now you understand why this is so key and crucial, and this is what everybody else is alluding to. But they don't, they're all off base. You've heard all the speakers, and bear witness here today, that when you leave here today, I guarantee you that nobody will even come close to what I'm saying. And this is not trying to jot my own tail, but I'm trying to say this. We are too late in the game to be feeling good about ourselves when the crackers get ready to kill us. But I got a little key for you all. I got a little story for you all. Guess what? We gonna get the jump on him before he get the jump on us. Because we can't go through 2 stages. Our karma has already been played. He's got to catch his retribution. This is a divine order. You see, the New World Order that they're talking about was actually an old world order. That's 1776. That's right. Which is on his dollar bill. Yeah. So now the white boy, since he is going through his New World Order, now he's saying, I'm trying to get a New World Order. You understand what I'm saying? But he had his time allotted for him because his time was up in 1914. Actually, his time was up in 1904. And his 90-year grace period ran out January of this year.
That's right.
This is why he has to go up in the head. You all stick with me, and we'll go into that, and y'all hold me to that right now. But right now, we need to get to the order of the day, because we're trying to line up the events on what makes this stuff important. Spirit does not give them additional information when your ego inflates. If you want to kill God, inflate your ego. God says, well, since you got it all covered, I'll let you be on your own. And so when the white man comes, you take your ego, Afrocentric knowing behind, and get from up under it. So if you're not humble to your people, if you can't come to your people and talk in a certain manner and tell them that this is bull jive and I don't have to use no correct language, if we can't come and tell you this, we can't tell nobody. So I shouldn't hold back things for you that I find out about the white man to say that you ain't ready. Who am I to say that you ain't ready for nothing? That's right. You understand what I'm saying? That's right. You might have the key to this whole thing, and I might wake you up, and you might be the doggone Messiah to take us into the New World Order. World Order. The real deal New World Order. The African New World Order. Yes, and we'll check that, and we'll say the Earth New World Order, because there was no such thing as just one landmass of black people. This whole Earth was one people at one time, and it was all black people. And before Continental Drift, which went down with the city of Atlantis and Lemuria, which they don't tell you in the black scholarship, is what separated all this. But if you go to any place, you will see black people wherever you go right now.
That's right.
So therefore, it's not just subjugated to Africa. That's right. You understand? That's just like you going taking trips to the leg every damn year, and you got a whole other body to doggone explore. Check? All right. Now, number one, what they don't tell you about melanin, because they haven't tapped into the occult, is this. Melanin is not a key chemical cosmic substance that makes you black in your skin. Melanin is the soul. Without melanin, there is no soul. The soul that you have comes from one small atomic point called the Haddock point This is a Chaldean word. The headed point, or it's also called the Bindu seed. Bindu seed, which is the black dot. To show you a picture of the Bindu seed, all you have to do is look at your staff of Tahuti, and you will see the black dot. Also, not only do you see the black dot, but you will see this. Let me get one of these particular pictures. The Kundalini surface, which is the Kundalini fire snake in you. It runs up the 7 chakras, which is the 7 seals. And in here you see the actual black dot, the headed point, or the Bindu seed. Now you see the wings, which means is once this black dot is ignited, you get the halo over your head like Jesus Christ, and the wings come. That's the particular black dot or headed point. Now, this particular small atomic point is also called the black egg, and it's also called the Buddha Rupa. The Buddha Rupa. The Buddha Rupa. It's also called the Akash, which is talking about pure spirit. So what you know of as spirit is the Akash, the Akashic records that is inside of you. Heaven is within. The truth is within. That's why they tell you to go inside. This Akash here is called the Buddha Rupa. It's also called the Akasha, or it's called the headed point of the Bindu seed. Now, these are esoteric terms, and let's read what it says. It says, the Akasha is not only, the egg is not only Akasha, but it is the original egg in a biological sense. This is the egg that is issued from the lotus, the symbol of the yoni, the Asiatic or African cosmic symbol of Harpocrates. Now, stop right there. If you go to Kemet, you'll see one picture of Heru, the child, and he's sitting on a lotus and he has his thumb in his mouth. That thumb represents silence. It represents that the power of me being God and the Christ is based on something that's inside of me. They say the whole earth and the true ultimate manifestation of the mysteries spring from one small atomic point. That point is in the core of every star. Every star has that small atomic point, and every man and every woman is a star if you're not a mutant. We're talking about original people. Check? So you are stars. Once you raise the Kundalini energy up and unseal the 7 chakras, and it hits that black dot, the crown chakra ignites, and you become Christ. Because all of you are Christ. John chapter 10, verse 34 and 36 in your Bible, it says, is it not written in your law that ye are God? Be ye perfect as I am. Now, if Jesus is telling you to be ye perfect as I am, that means that you must have something perfect. You can't have 2 perfects in the English language. Perfect means the exact identical duplicate of what he is. So if he's saying be like me, he's saying that you have something in you to be identical to him. Because he was only a person of the mystery system that learned the degrees, Yeshua, Ben Pandera, and then went up there and got killed. You see what I'm saying? Which was also a part of his initiation. But on the other hand, we are talking about ye are gods. You understand? So holy ground is where you stand, because you are the temple, and the temple of God is within. Check? Everybody know these things now. Now, let's go on, because we want to deal with some stuff. I want to show you a picture of your Holy Kabbalah. Now, if you get your Holy Kabbalah, and there's a good book you need to get called William G. Gray's Ladder of Lights. Good book. Step-by-step guide to the tree of life and the 4 letters of the Kabbalistics, or the Kabbalists, and including the angelic archangels. The father of the archangels is the god Ptah, and Ptah means the blue-black god, and so that means all the angels in heaven are black. You can write this down. In the Kabbalah, it says the people on low say that God is on high. You say that God is up in the sky. While the angels in heaven say God lives on earth. This is coming from the Holy Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic. And we also have a picture that the Holy Kabbalah, so don't let no Jews front to you, not even the black Hebrews who inherited it. The Holy Kabbalah, we got a picture at the temple of Como in Kemet, where they have the Pharaoh holding up the doggone Holy Kabbalah. So not even they can front this thing to say that all stuff come to Kabbalah, and the Jews, the European fake Jews, invented it. But even the black Jews got it, because now we understand that the Jews were nothing but form of Egyptians that broke away from the establishment. They were black Egyptians or black Kemites that broke away from the establishment and formed their own religion. You see, we also have evidence that the entire life of Moses was Ark 9. They taught all of that and drove him out and got him out of there. But then his actual priest and his particular person of his army, who was Moses, after Akhenaten died, he took the teachings on as his own. But Moses was a priest of Akhenaten. You see? Now, he said, right. You have the Holy Kabbalah. You have 2 DNA strands in your body now. You had the other ones that were shut down based on this earth fell into what is called the 3rd dimension. And your chakra centers and all shut down. The other DNA strands of the 10 separates, because you have 12 in all, are the 10 separates in the Holy Kabbalah. There's one separate in the Holy Kabbalah, it's called dot. That's the black dot. That's melanin right here. That particular dot is later on, you know, is in the movie Star Wars where they say Darth Vader. They take a man, James Earl Jones' voice, put it all black, and make him the enemy of the white man and say he comes from the Death Star, the star son Sirius. Okay? That's Darth Vader. You understand? Which is talking about melanin. Okay? Now, another good book, you need to get this little book, Introduction to Chaos Magic. All the stuff that you're looking for on your stuff based on the soul and spirit. The white man is hidden in Satanism and witchcraft. That's right. And so they know that the average Christian won't touch it and the average black person won't touch it. This is a conspiracy, so you find most of the stuff in what they call magic. That's right. Witchcraft. You see what I'm saying? Or what they call Satanism. Now, you know doggone well a white man, you know one thing about the white man. If it don't work, he ain't gonna be in it long. He ain't got time to mess around with stuff don't work. You the one that mess around with stuff don't work. You understand what I'm saying? The white man don't do that. If it don't work, he's stepping on to something else. You see what I'm saying? So now, why is he stuck into witchcraft, Satanism, and all this type of stuff if it don't work? Because he understands, even though it doesn't work for him, he understands that he took the ancient black magic that comes from the black magicians of Atlantis, which is talking about the science of the soul and the study of alchemy. And he took this particular stuff and he put it under banners like Satanism, witchcraft, and all of these things to keep you away. Witchcraft comes from Wicca, which was the white women that actually were studying the mysteries of Isis and got burned at the stake for doing it. And Wicca means wise one. You see what I'm saying? All right. So now, this is a book, Introduction to Chaos Magic. And this book is talking about melanin magic. Over here you see the pyramid, which the symbol of the pyramid is also, now we know, is a symbol of melanin. Yes. The Great Pyramid in Cheops, the Giza Plateau, is nothing but a symbol of melanin. That's why it's all over. That's why there was 80 pyramids in the Nile Valley. They got pyramids up under the ground that they haven't even dug out. It's larger than the Great Pyramids in the Giza Plateau. And you have pyramids in the Western Hemisphere. That is because the pyramid is a sign of melanin. But also you see a circle, which means chaos. Chaos is also talking about the black dot. As you know, Richard King tells you that one of the names for melanin is chaos. That primal substance that keeps on moving, that creates everything. Because everything is created out of chaos. Yes, check? That's right. Chaos. So in here it tells you this. It says chaos is the absence of form and order. Above other things, chaos haunts the Western man. Talking about the white man. You remember he said that Richard King said when the white man raises that Kundalini energy and he goes to that pineal gland system that's calcified, he starts hearing voices in the head. Right. Call it the devil. Yeah. That's his devil. That's your illumination. You see what I'm saying? Yes, sir. So he said it haunts the Western man. It fills his mind with visions of seers running into rivers and men giving birth to frogs and fish flying through grassy ponds. It is the unnamed heart of every horror story. The unexpected, the unpredictable, the uncontrollable lawless chaos, lawless black dot melanin. Check? In the book it tells you chaos control. That means that in the end you will control, but only the melanated ones will get off this planet. Okay? The particular hair root that you will see a picture of a baby in the egg and you'll see what? The Horus lock. The Horus lock is indicating what is on the inside, even though it's a big strip of black melanated hair. That's right. It's indicating what is on the inside of this particular hair root's lock, which is also talking about the inside medulla oblongata chakra called the mouth of God, which at the base of the skull, in the top of the spine, you have a patch of the most concentrated melanin. And this is the mouth of God. And this is also in the Kabbalah, which is talking about that spirit when it rises up, it's also talking about Thoth, the black substance. The devil sets on. Sets, it comes from the original word soot, which means black, and on coming from Anubis, Anpu, soot on. Later on called shakes on. It ain't talking about no mythological devil that don't exist. It's the white man calling the black powers and the black man the devil. You are his devil, just like he is your devil. This is what the science is. So when they worship Satan, they are worshiping the powers of the black man and black woman. Check? Check. All right. Now, that particular part, Heru's block, is indication of melanin when you see that. That's why, if you notice, the white Jews, the Lubaba witches, and all of them that walk around, they have the lock, and they dress up in all black. The all black that they dress up in is symbolizing the melanated skin that they do not have. Because they are all fake Jews. You understand? That's why they dress up in all black, and some of them have on black wool in the hot summer. Because you have a mutation of a ninja that came out of the original mystery system of the ninjas, and the samurai warriors were black people. Because you know the original agents were black. Right? Because you have in the ninjas, you have this particular, they know that the original part of their mystery system, because all martial art is nothing but a form of the mystery system. The Shaolin Temple and all that. Because they understood that the original mystery system was black, they wear all black and they cover it all the way to the eye. This symbolizes the black skin that they don't have. Go back and see the movie Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where he's supposed to be going for the Holy Grail. And remember the other people, they were trying to get the cup. At the end, they ended up dying. He said it wasn't the cup, it was illumination. But guess what the cup was? The cup is melanin, it's the black dot. What they talk about, the secrets to the Holy Grail, is the black dot. Another name for that black dot is called the Solomon seal. And remember in your book of Revelation, they say only accept the ones with the seal. And the seal is Solomon. Oh, ye, I am black and I am comely. And they're talking about building the temple of Solomon, the black Solomon, which is also the temple of Osir. And Osir is called what? Lord of the perfect black. It says that the insectoid powers fears the black races and have kept them subjugated and confused, for they hold the key to knowledge. Their genetic clan, which is their melanin information basis, is needed to unlock the advanced secrets of the Sirius data, talking about the Sirius star system. The segmented data unites the Indian clans that were originally from the fourth planet of the Sirius star system. So now what they're talking about this. Our sun goes around the earth, our earth goes around the sun every 26,000 years. Our sun goes around a greater sun every, no, excuse me, let me get this right. Our sun goes around the earth every 365 days. Our sun goes around a greater sun every 26,000 years. That's called a Sophic cycle or a great year. That great sun is the central cosmic sun to the entire universe. And who lives on that sun? Black people. Because all of your gods come from that sun. In the Holy Quran, in the Surah of the Star, it says, this is the God who created both male and female from one single ejaculated semen and will create all things anew. He is the Lord of Sirius. In the book of Coming Forth by Day, it says, I set up a ladder to the gods, but I am one of them. This is Ani. He's a man on earth. He said, but I am one of them. And I holler like a goose until they hear my prayer and they report it to Sirius, the dog star. You understand what I'm saying? Now, every 90,000 years, we go back in what is called the ultimate manifestation of Godhood. That 90,000 years was up in 1904. But Aleister Crowley received the Book of Law, which is the second part of the Book of Coming Forth by Day, by a cosmic entity called Aiwass. Aiwass is a tall black man in his 30s with the face of an African king. Aiwass. Now, he's a tall black man in his 30s with the face of an African king. I took note of it, because at that time, Aiwass was not only my holy guardian angel, but an angel of summer, the most ancient god of summer. He is in fact the epistomous head of the AA, the silver star, the sun in Sirius, the Sirius star system. His Hebrew name is Melchizedek, which is the head of the great white brotherhood. It's not talking about white people, it's talking about the crown chakra, the prism that comes out of the triple blackness of space, which is all colors. His name is Melchizedek, and Jesus was of the order of Melchizedek. Aiwass gave them an extension of 90 years that ran out January of 1994. Ran out January of 1994. Aiwass appeared to a holy sanctified woman last year at this time and told her next year in 1994 1994, it told us in 93. It says in 1994, you will know a great sign. It said there's going to be fires that's going to start in the west, and they're not going to be able to put them out. And ever since the 1st of June, they have not been able to do that. They haven't been able to put those fires out. Because what they're not telling you that those fires are still burning. They just stopped broadcasting them fires. Okay. You see what I'm saying? Awas is also a form of the ancient god Heru, or Ra-Heru Kahudi, which is a form of Heru. I'm telling you what's getting ready to go down. And all you got to do is just look at the prophecies around you. There's no religion higher than truth. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to tell you that there's only one God, and we're trying to tell you that all of the science, from Kabbalah to Upanishads, to Bhagavad Gita, to Book of the Dead, to the Bible, to the Quran, is all one. They have the bigger book with them. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about pieces of the actual puzzle. But the main thing is don't deny none of the disciplines, because all of them are black. You understand what I'm saying? A man down the street is going to have his own interpretations of the same discipline. And now the man started fighting, not God. He's always one and exact. So this particular one, Awas, his original form is Ra-Heru Kahudi, which is also Heru. Heru on the horizon in the Sphinx. So who is a blue-black god? Is a blue-black god. His other name is Sut. His other name is the black god Sut, or Al-Sut. Now, at this particular time, what had happened was, when we talk about this serious thing, we understand that the white man ain't spent no $9 billion in no Hubble telescope to watch no stars. You understand? We understand that this white man did this particular stuff in 30 years of NASA because he knows what is coming back. It's coming back to kick him straight in his ass. We also know with the Japanese calendar, it's based on the Japanese calendar, which is closer to the Sophic calendar. We are on the Gregorian calendar, which comes from the Julian calendar, which comes from the original stellar calendar, which is the Sophic calendar based on the star sun Sirius. And that calendar is at least 10 years up ahead of us. So therefore, this is the year 2004. And as you know, all spiritual prophecies run out in the year 2000. That means you are right in the middle of this particular thing. And the only reason why you don't know about it is because you are still asleep. The Europeans know that based on Toussaint L'Ouverture in 1894, and they understand based on the Hermes Trismegistus material, where you get the same thing. You know in the Bible it tells you you'll be in bondage in a land not your own for 400 years. Well, we know that was not the actual Hebrews in Egypt. We know that, we know that that is a prophetic history because the Bible is 98% prophetic history. But the original version of that comes from a book called The Virgin of the World by A. Kingsford and Maitland in page 75, which is talking about a 3,000-year-old prophecy that was given to Imhotep. At that time, that later on rose himself up to God and was later on called the god Asclepius by the time the Greeks got around. Well, in there, Tahuti, he's risen himself up to the god level by opening up his chakras and all of that. And so now he's having a dialogue with Tahuti, and Tahuti is telling him that Egypt is going to fall, the people are going to be taken into slavery, and the wise man will be considered dumb, and the dumb man will be considered wise, and the weak man will be considered strong, and the strong man will be considered weak, and life will be preferred to death. Imhotep starts crying. He said, will we ever get out of this mess? He said, yes, Mayat will be established again. Tahuti tells him. He said, where? He said, extremities of Kemet or Egypt will be built towards the west. Which is talking about the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. And he said, so shall the Son of Man. So he said, well, who are these people? He said, these people now are black people because they live in the Libyan hills, which is just talking about an African hill. He said, so what it is it's talking about us. But we would have been hit in the head and taken across the Atlantic and left for brain dead in the Western Hemisphere. And those people would be the people that rose up because those people would have had the ultimate chastisement because those are the only people that lost all of their memory. You see? All of their memory. In order to rise up in this universe to the supreme, you have to go where no man has gone before. And black people have gone that way because even a roach knows what a roach is. You see what I'm saying? So there's nothing lower than you at this particular time because you are the only people that forgot the sense of self, and not only that, was made to hate self. And your brain is in opposition to the body. Check? Now, at that particular time, this particular material is going into the Masonic material, and so this is why J. Edgar Hoover, being a Mason, said we must mobilize and neutralize the rise of a black Messiah in the 1960s. So based on them knowing this cosmic cycle, and understanding that their time limit was up in January, they are so arrogant to think that the people in America will not be the people for the Messiah. So what they say is based on the Toussaint Louverture ass kicking they got with the French and the British, and they understand that they got their behind beat by a heavy Vodun element, which is voodoo, and they understood that they just got this particular new person they installed as one of the head of the Vodun people. They figure he is the Messiah. So therefore they're going into Haiti and they're going to drop a bomb on that. You remember you heard this from me. They're going to drop a bomb on that element of the Vodun society so they can wipe out the Messiah, but they have sadly mistaken. Because that Messiah, or those Messiahs that they're talking about, is right here in the hills of North America, and it's not just one person. They say that we are not stupid enough to give one person the Messiahship. And this is what the channel came to me. They said, so therefore we broke up the crystal and put it in a few people. Therefore, if the white man comes and kills the one man, we don't have to start all over again. So therefore, he cannot kill the Messiah. But therefore, it is rising up right here in the hills of North America because we know that this is the direct belly of the beast, and nobody else can say that they have caught the scrutiny as we have caught in here, because this is the direct belly of the beast, and this is the control marshal for the whole world, where the beast has control over the whole doggone world. So it's going to rise up right out of here on the belly of the beast for the simple fact that the God made sure that there was nothing that can penetrate his borders as an outside force in the whole history of America, other than the Civil War that they had, because they say they were saving the best for last. And you are going to be the people to take this thing underground. Check? Check. But it ain't going to be no 5 years from now. It ain't going to be no 2 years from now. And you can hear me this. By the end of this month, by the end of this year, excuse me, it will start, and by the first of next year, you'll be getting your planet back, and you can hear that from me. You don't have to worry about it. It's not a damn thing that I have to say. You can just bear witness that it's coming. What's that, brother? Oh, yeah, you can bear witness that this thing is actually coming, and the melanated people are going to take this thing over. Now, let me go into some science on what's going on. Albert Einstein told you that there was a man called Yakub that created the evil scientist. Well, in actuality, the reason why you didn't understand this is because of the simple fact that this man had a 4th grade education and you were victims of taking everything that the white man tell you based on white scholarship. This particular mutant that was created is the European, and it's not talking about other darker-haired races around the earth, because they are nothing but people that came up based on climate adaptability. They are nothing but different hues of black people. And their soul that comes back from the original soul of black people. But we're talking about 80% of what you call the Europeans, because the other 20% are black people and don't even know it. And they have black babies all the time. They have the black dot and stuff. And then you got 26 million black people that's passing for white people anyway. You understand what I'm saying? So this is what confuses you when you see some white people go up on a higher level, is because they are black anyway. And they have the black dot, because the black dot is not only subjugated to color alone. The black dot is subjugated to what's on the inside. You understand what I'm saying? So you can look damn near white and still have the most thorough part of the black dot. You understand? All of the gods, and everybody knows in reincarnation, for those of you people who don't believe, all of the gods know that everybody knows that most of the gods that you know in biblical time and in pharaonic time are back on the scene now. You know, I know about 10 of my reincarnations based on spiritual channeling. Now, how do you get this information? I'm going to write down 2 or 3 people. I'm going to write down a sister that's one of the most powerful sisters on the planet. And I want you to take this thing, and I want you to go and set up an appointment with her, and I want you to get your reading done to find out who the hell are you, because you ain't no Johnny Lone from no Buscaloosa, Alabama. You are a spiritual entity that's been reincarnated in this particular time to help your people, the ignorant ones, get on the ships, because the ships will be coming soon. So I'm going to give you 2 or 3 people in the location of Detroit. I'm going to give you some people, or a woman in Detroit, a woman in Atlanta, 2 in Detroit and 1 in Atlanta. And I want you to utilize these people. They are not allowed to take money, but they want you to give them offering. So therefore, you give them the kind of money that you need to have, and they're going to tell you who the hell you are, because you've been fooled to thinking that you are who you are at this particular physical level, and you are cosmic God on the inside. They also said about this Yakub. We also have the historical record of this particular Yakub in a book called Donald Redwood's Egypt, Canaan, and Israel. Egypt, Canaan, and in Israel, but just remember the name Donald Redwood. And in there they give you the historical documents of Yakub Kerr. But in that book he gives you the actual historical records of Yakub Kerr. And Yakub Kerr is in fact the Yakub of the one that's so-called based on genetic engineering. We'll get into that in a few minutes. And who created the mutant. But the reason why you can't understand a certain amount of knowledge about it, because he created this mutant in Atlantis. In Atlantis. And there's white people that have these particular documents mainly the Theosophical Society. So I'll read you some actual conference proceedings from the Theosophical Society in the late 1800s by C.W. Ledbetter that is addressing the Theosophical Society to tell them who he's telling them we're going to show exactly who white people are. We got to know who we are if we're going to try to raise ourselves up. And this is the conference proceeding in the late 1800s. And it's in this particular book called A.E. Powell, The Astro Body. A.E. Powell, The Astro Body. No, he's quoting Ledbetter because this is all a part of the same society. The channel came down about Atlantis from a woman by the name of Annie Besant. And Madame Blavatsky is the leader of the society, but Annie Besant and C.W. Ledbetter are the actual people that took over after she died. You could also get a book called Bright's History of Israel, where they talk about Yaakov being a Hyksos god. But the Hyksos didn't know what they were doing because the god was so ancient, they just started worshiping the god and didn't know what they were doing. But that particular god was none other than the actual Yaakov. Another good book you can get that explains a great deal of the story is a book by the name of Rudolph Spencer, Atlantis and Lemuria, where he says, and he quotes almost verbatim what Honorable Elijah Muhammad quoted in his book, The Theology of Time, now printed, and it is a must-read. In the book, he quotes that Manu, a god in Atlantis, that selected a germ from man and created a new race of people. And in that book, he says that Manu takes a germ and creates a new race of people. Also in that book, he says that the moon was separated from the earth almost 40, 50 years before Honorable Elijah Muhammad writes Message to the Black Man. And the white people got it in their esoterics because they're studying the right history and you studying the wrong history. Check. Your history does not begin with Egypt. Your history begins with Atlantis and Lemuria and so on. You understand? Egypt is what you inherited when you fell from your godhood and you had to put the pieces back together. So therefore, what you was born to do, you had to go to a mystery system to learn what you lost as your original nature, the 12 DNA strands. Okay? In that book, he says that Manu took a journey and created a new man. But what he was mistaken was Manu was the teacher of he was the teacher of a student by the name of Yaakov, and he taught him the art of genetic engineering. That stuff is also come to light in Zachariah Stitch's books about genetic engineering, but he's saying the race was genetically engineered, and that's not true. The black race comes from the star sun Sirius, and you are the gods of the universe. You see what I'm saying? And you are the gods of the universe. The people that was genetically engineered that he is getting from the Sumerian text is nothing but the European, because Sumeria goes all the way back to doggone Kemet, goes all the way back to Atlantis, and Kemet goes all the way back to Atlantis, because you have the Sphinx to bear witness to that. That is now carbon dated 80,000 years old. You see what I'm saying? And because the pyramid was built in the same complex, they are that old too. The reason why they have difficulties with carbon dating is because they took the limestone pillar casings off and built the mosque in Cairo with it. You understand? So this is why you don't understand that particular part. One thing about the Rosicrucians tell you that there's the highest point that a city is built on in the South is Atlanta, Georgia. And they understand that the capstone of the Great Pyramids in Kemet, you can't find that stone that was made out of the capstone but one place, Stone Mountain, Georgia. So that ought to let you know that it was all one landmass when things went down. So he was saying, but in actuality, his particular student was Manu, was Yaakov. Now, in here, they are explaining about what they are. They said that Caucasians mean Caucus means dead, and it means a dead Asian. But they're talking about a dead soul because they don't have the black dot, which is called the black night of the soul, which is the soul. So you're talking about energy that only just reincarnates, but it's not the soul because they have a guilt deficiency. And if you know they don't have a soul, the reason why they can kill all the people on the planet, all the snakes, all the dogs, all the whales. You see what I'm saying? The whole damn planet, and now they're trying to kill space with the damn bomb they sent up to Jupiter and told you it was a comet. And I'll tell you the reason why that happened also too. Now, it says that the astral corpse, they said that the astral corpse is known as a shade. It's an entity which is not in any sense a real individual at all. At all. Nevertheless, it bears his, talking about your personal appearance. Not talking about white people who had 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head and all that. It says, possesses his memory and all his little idiosyncrasies. It may be therefore readily be mistaken for him. Talking about you. As it is frequently said at seance, because they go into channeling to get this information, as we talk about. It is not conscious of any active interpretations. For as its intellect goes, it must necessarily suppose itself to be an individual. You see what I'm saying? It is really a merely bundle of soulless bundle of all the lowest qualities. The length of its life varies according to the lower amount of material matter that emanates it. That means what you see out here is all an illusion. It slows down vibrations. You speed up the vibrations, this all disappears. You tap into the real region in the doorways into the melanin, all this disappears. And because he is all physical, he disappears. They ain't gonna tell you that at the conference, because they still on the chemical, they still on the scientific, and they way off. They way off. You see, because they had one book and they refused to put in their stuff, and that was the message to the black man and the teachers of Honorable Elijah Muhammad that was brought to you by the Sufi Muslims. Which one of the head of the Sufis at that time was Master Farad Muhammad. This is the true story of that. We'll give you some information on him. It's not such a spooked out thing. This is real stuff. You see what I'm saying? Which was our link into esoteric knowledge. Both Noble Drew Ali, him, and a few other people. But no, they gotta get the stuff from the white man university, and he gives you what he wants you to have, while he studies your real deal stuff behind closed doors. And ain't none of them dealing with that. Ain't no white man gonna give you no secrets to take him out of no power. Right. And what you see what I'm saying? What little he got from the Moors in Spain.
Watch it. That's right.
You see what I'm saying? That's where he got it.
That's right.
The Moors in Spain. It brought civilization to Europe and the art of alchemy to make souls for non-aberrant man. Look up the word aberrant. It means abnormal, unusual, unnatural. And the story of that particular part is told in this book, People with a Secret, Ernest Scott. He's a master at the English language. So when he talks about the Sufis, he puts them in Spain, and you know he's talking about the black Moors.
That's right.
Okay? He's talking about the Moors. Now, Ernest Scott, people of the secret, excuse me. All right. The length of his life varies based on the low amount of matter that emanates it. Once you go tap into the university in your mind, so the temple is in, and you get into the other university and free yourself from the physical chains, he no longer exists. It's a bad nightmare.
That's right.
And we about to wake up. But his intellect is steady fading out. His intellect is diminishing quaintly. Thus, though it might possess a great deal of a certain animal cunningness towards the end of its career, towards the end of its career, it is still able to communicate by borrowing temporary intelligence from the medium. It borrows your intelligence. That's why you can't figure out what this piece is. You understand what I'm saying? It borrows your intelligence. Go back and look at all the science fiction movies. They tell you everything about him in the science fiction. Science fiction is science fact. You see what I'm saying? That's why they're coming out with one. You need to go see this new time clock that's coming out, because you know it's got all the science in it. That's why you need to go see the movie The Shadow. The movie The Shadow is talking about tapping in the regions of your mind that frees you from physical limitations. You see, and you do that through melanin. That's why The Shadow, that's why he was only limited, because he wasn't an original man. You gotta go see the movie and check it out what's going on.
Natural born killers.
Natural born killers is another one talking about mass murderers, but Oliver Stone is trying to tell you this is a part of all of us. Because ain't no mass murderer just killed a couple of billion people on the earth. Millions of white people did that. So when they say mass murderers, you know that's talking about them. Because they ain't never been able to produce a mass murderer black yet. And they tried to make that live with Jim Jones, with my man in Atlanta.
William.
Oh, yeah. Wayne Williams. And you know doggone well he only killed 2 grown people, Nathaniel Cater and another person. That was a genetic experiment based on interferon and melanin experimentations, and that's what happened with Atlanta child murders. Check. Now, let's get through this one little part right here. It says, for its very nature is liable to be slayed by all kinds of evil influence, and being separated from the high ego, the black dot. It has nothing in its constitution capable of responding to the good ones. That means nothing in this white man's constitution is capable of responding to you. And even if they do, like you, it's on a master-slave relationship. You have 4 currents in you. You have 4 currents in you. And you have 4 currents, and when you go into this mutant, you shut down the 2 currents. That's why don't mix your seed. This is all coming from the metaphysical. Well, and also, they can go up on the astral plane when they're doing sex, sexual tantrum, while you having sex with them. And if they know what they're doing, when the body is no longer on a physical state, they can take you up on the astral plane and snatch your melanin. Even though they can't use it for themselves, they can snatch your shit. And what it is like blowing a hole in your soul. You'll be spiritually wounded. They can do these things if they know what the hell they're doing. But even to enter a mutant will shut down your particular thing. That's why that's why these black men go crazy when they get this white woman and all. So now, these are some things. A.E. Powell and Astro Body. Real key book, you have to get that particular book.
The change that's taking place among the so-called Negroes, not only here in New York, but throughout America, throughout the entire world. Throughout the entire world today, about mankind is waking up and undergoing a new type of thinking. And this new type of thinking is creating new approaches and new reactions that make it almost impossible to figure out what the black man is going to do next. And by black man, we mean, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we mean that this includes those who are not white. He teaches us that black is the basic color in all colors. Black is the foundation or the basis. And all of our people, or all of the people who have not yet become white, are still black, or are at least part of the black nation. You may not have known you were black before you came here. In fact, very few of our people really look upon themselves as being black. They think of themselves as practically everything else on the color spectrum except black. And no matter how dark one of our people may be, you never hear him call himself black. But now that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has been teaching among the so-called Negroes, you find our people at all complexions running around here bragging about, I'm a black man. Well, this shows you that a new teaching is taking place and that there is new thinking among the so-called Negroes. If just yesterday you would have to admit that it was very difficult to get our people to refer to themselves as black, and then now all of a sudden you find all of us of all complexions not apologizing for being black, but bragging about being black. Well, there's a new thinking that has sprung up here in America among the so-called Negroes. And the one who is actually the author of this new thinking is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It is what he is teaching that's making our people for the first time proud to be black. And what's most important of all, for the first time, it makes our people want to know more about black, want to know why black is good, or what there is about black that's good. I might stop. It's designed to undo in our mind what the white man has done to us. It's designed to undo the type of brainwashing that we had to undergo for 400 years at the hands of the white man in order to bring us down to the level that we're on today. So, we're speaking of it in a factual sense. All we're doing is telling the truth about our people. Whenever you exalt black, that's not propaganda. When you exalt white, that's propaganda. Because no one can give biological evidence that there is any basis to elevate white or place white above everything else. But you can give biological evidence to show where black actually is the stronger and the superior of the two, if you want to make that kind of comparison. So never think ill of the person whom you hear representing the Honorable Elijah Muhammad if an overemphasis seems to be placed upon black, but rather sit and analyze and try and get an understanding. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that of all the things the black man can study, or any man can study for that matter, history is best qualified to reward all research. You have to have a knowledge of history no matter what you're going to do. Anything that you undertake, you have to have a knowledge of history in order to be successful in it. The thing that has made the so-called Negro in America fail more so than any other thing is your and my lack of knowledge concerning history. We know less about history than anything else. There are black people in America who have mastered the mathematical sciences, have become professors and experts in physics, are able to toss Sputniks out there in the atmosphere, out in space. They're masters in that field. We have black men who have mastered the field of medicine. We have black men who have mastered other fields. But very seldom do we have black men in America who have mastered the knowledge of history of the black man himself. They are experts. We have among our people those who are experts in every field. But seldom can you find one from among us who is an expert on the history of the black man. And because of his lack of knowledge concerning the history of the black man, no matter how much he excels in these other sciences, he's always confined. He's always relegated to the same low rung of the ladder that the dumbest of our people are relegated to. And all of this stems from his lack of knowledge concerning history. What made Dr. George Washington Carver a Negro scientist instead of a scientist? What made Paul Robeson a Negro actor instead of an actor? It's the only difference between Bunch and Carver and these others whom I just mentioned. They don't know the history of the black man. Bunch is an expert, an international politician, a politician on the international level. But Bunch doesn't know himself. He has no knowledge of the history of his own people. He can be sent all over the world by America to solve problems for America, or to solve problems for other nations, but he can't solve problems for his own people in this country. Why? What is it that ties our people up in this way? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says it boils down to just one word: history. The American Negro doesn't know his history. The American so-called Negro is a soldier who doesn't know his history. He's a servant in America who doesn't know his history. He's a graduate from Harvard or Columbia or Yale or Howard or Tuskegee who doesn't know his history. And because he doesn't know his history, he's confined. He's limited. He's held under the control and the jurisdiction of the white man who knows more about the history of the Negro than the Negro knows about himself. But when you and I wake up, as we're taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and learn our history, learn the history of our kind as well as the history of the white kind, then then the white man is at a disadvantage and we're at an advantage. The only thing that puts you and me at a disadvantage is our lack of knowledge concerning history. Now, you know, brothers and sisters, God is an old God, and the world is an old world. It's been here a long time. I think all of you will agree that the universe has been here longer than 2,000 years. And you'll also agree that the universe was made by God himself, that God created the universe. God created the people who are on this earth. God wouldn't create a universe. God wouldn't put a sun up in the sky and make 9 planets rotate around it, all of them inhabited. You and I inhabiting the planet Earth upon which we live. God wouldn't have done all of this and not given people a religion. God put his religion here at the creation of the universe. God's religion is as old as the universe. In fact, God's religion is older than the universe. Now then, since you agree to this, and you'll also agree that Christ was born 2,000 years ago, which means Christianity is only 2,000 years old, this couldn't have been God's religion. If your knowledge of history shows you that God couldn't call his religion Christianity, because Christianity is only 2,000 years old. So if this is the case, then what was God's religion called before the birth of Christ? God was here before Christians came on the scene. They tell you that the Christians had their beginning back there with the Romans. One of the Roman emperors who supposedly accepted the teachings of some of Jesus' disciples and then named what the disciples taught Christianity. But Jesus didn't even call it Christianity. This wasn't named this until 200 or 300 years after Jesus was dead. Right or wrong. Any history book will tell this. Any Bible will tell this. Any theologian should have a knowledge of this. And the only Negroes who will contend with this are those who don't know history. And most Negroes don't know history. Christianity was called Judaism. Isn't this what they say? Named after a man called Judah. This right here doesn't follow logic. If Christianity became named this after Christ was born, and before Christ was born the religion was called Judaism, then that means that This got its name from the son of Jacob, whose name was Judah. But history tells us that Jacob was serving God before Judah was born, which shows us that Jacob's religion couldn't have been Judaism, and Isaac was Jacob's father. He was serving God also before Jacob, his son, was born. Isaac was Judah's grandfather, and Abraham was Judah's great-grandfather, meaning Abraham was on the scene long before Judah came on the scene. Now, you couldn't call Abraham's religion Judaism, because there was no such thing as Judaism in Abraham's day. There was no such thing as Judaism in Isaac's day or in Jacob's day. It's because the Jews have the longest record of history that they can call themselves the chosen people. The Christians can't call themselves the chosen people because their history is not long enough. They can't go back to the time when the choice was being made. But the Hebrews, the so-called Jews, they can go back so far they can lay claim to that which actually is not there. But the reason they can claim it because nobody else that they're dealing with can go back far enough to this future. You and I are the seed of Abraham. It's so pitiful. Many of our people would rather believe that the Jew is God's chosen people than to believe that they are God's chosen people. They would rather believe that God is going to save the Jew than to believe that God is going to save them. They would rather believe that the Jew is better than anybody else than to believe that they themselves are better than anybody else. This is a Negro. Wouldn't nobody else think like this but a Negro? Nobody else would put everybody in, would rather believe that the Jew is better than anybody else than to believe that they themselves are better than anybody else. This is a Negro. Wouldn't nobody else think like this but a Negro? Nobody else would put everybody else on top of him but the Negro. No one else would place himself below everyone else but the Negro. I mean the American Negro. Now look what God said. That the people would be strangers. The Jews aren't strangers. The Jews know their history. The Jews know their culture. The Jews know their language. They know everything there is to know about themselves. They know how to rob you. They know how to be your landlord. They know how to be your grocer. They know how to be your lawyer. They know how to join the NAACP and become the president. Right or wrong. They know how to control everything you got. You can't say they're lost. But the poor so-called Negro, he hasn't control over anything. He doesn't control the NAACP. He can't control the Urban League. He can't control CORE. He can't control his church. He can't control his own school. He can't control his own businesses and his own community. He can't even control his own mind. He's lost and lost control of himself and gone astray. So he fits the picture here that the Bible says concerning our people in the last day. Know for a surety that thy seed shall be strangers in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them. And you have served the white man. He hasn't served you and me. Why, the Jew hasn't served anybody here. You are the one that served. And they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge. And afterwards they shall come out with great substance. Jesus was talking to the Jew way back here in John. He told them that if they shall know the truth and it'll make them free. The Jew popped up and says, how are you going to say we shall be made free? We have never been in bondage to anyone. Isn't that what the Jews told Jesus? Well, now look here. If the Jews told Jesus 2,000 years after Moses supposedly led the Hebrews out of bondage, that they had never been in bondage. Now you know the Jews had Moses' history. They knew who Moses was. How could they stand up and tell Jesus they had never been in bondage? Because they had never been in bondage. Not these things that you call Jews. They weren't in Egypt. Those weren't the people that Moses led out of Egypt. And the Jew knows this. But the Bible is written in such a tricky way, when you read it, you think that Moses led the Jews out of bondage. But if you get a Jew in a good, solid conversation today, and you know how to talk to him, he has to admit to you that it wasn't out of Egypt land that Moses brought them. It wasn't out of bondage that Moses brought them. It was out of somewhere else. And then where Moses really brought them is their secret. But thanks to Almighty God, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad knows their secret. And he told it to us. And in the 18th chapter of Deuteronomy, God told Moses. And in the 18th verse, God told Moses, I will raise them up a prophet. Talking about you and me. I'll raise them up a prophet just like thee, a prophet like Moses, whose mission it will be to do for you and me the same thing Moses did back there. You and I haven't thought in terms of our forefathers. We haven't thought of our fathers. Our brothers are back home. Our fathers are in the east. We run around here begging the great white father. You never hear black people in this country talking or speaking or thinking in terms of connecting themselves with their own kind back home. They're trying to make a contact with the white man. Pick up on that. That's true. Trying to make a contact, trying to make a connection with the white man. Trying to make a connection with a kidnapper who brought them here. Trying to make a connection with actually the man who enslaved them. You know, that's a shame. It's pitiful, but it's true. He shows us where the white man, what he has taught us concerning history has actually been a distortion. He's never given you and me true facts about history, neither about himself nor about our people. You know, I read a book one day called The Four Cities of Troy. What was this based on? Show you what a liar the white man is. When I say liar, you have white people who are scientists, and they keep truth in their own circle. And they never let they never let the masses know anything about this truth that they keep in the circle. They got something else that they invent and put out for the masses to believe. But they them something else that they invent and put out for the masses to believe. But they themselves keep knowledge in a circle. So, in this particular book, it pointed out that some archaeologists were delving in the ruins of the ancient city of Troy. And it's the practice of archaeologists, you know, to dig. So in digging down into the ruins of Troy, they dug deeper than they intended to. And they ran into the ruins of another city that had been there so much longer ahead of this city of Troy that it had gone down beneath the sands of time. And they had built this city of Troy on top of it, and when these archaeologists were delving in the ruins of the ancient city, they learned that there was one that was there more ancient than that. So they started frantically digging down in that one and dug below it into another one. And before they got through digging, they had dug down and they had discovered that civilization in that area had been there so far back into history that at different times in history, the civilization had been destroyed, had become completely covered up with sand and dirt, until another people came along and didn't even know it was there and built another civilization on top of that. This happened 4 different times to give you somewhat of an idea of what the white man knows concerning the length of time man has been on this earth. And still that white man will jump up in your face and try and make you believe that first man was made 6,000 years ago named Adam. And a lot of Negroes running around here talking about Adam. That's God caught him. God took some dust and breathed on it and told Adam, come forth, and there he was. With all this information floating around in everybody's ears, you can get it free. Why, you should open up your mind and your head and your heart and realize that you have been led by lies. And today that it's time to listen to nothing but naked, undiluted truth. And when you know the truth, as Jesus says, truth will make you free. Abraham Lincoln won't make you free. Truth will make you free. When you know the truth, you're free. Also, you have your archaeologists, anthropologists, other forms of historians who agree, pretty well agree, that they don't know how long man has been on earth, that they do know that he has been on earth longer than 6,000 years, and they know that man was not made just 6,000 years ago. They know this now, but a long time ago they didn't know it. There was a time when man had less ribs than a woman. People believe that because they said that God made Eve from one of Adam's ribs. So Adam had a rib missing. And they actually ran around here believing that man had one less rib. And you know, they were shook up when they really got into the science of anatomy and discovered that man, all his ribs were there. They began to wonder then what happened there in the Bible. How long has man been here? In the Bible, in the first chapter of Genesis, in the 26th verse, after God had made everything else, it says here, and God said, let us make man And it says, and God said, let us make man. The key word here is more than one. Who was God talking to? If God was all by himself and no one was here but him, who was he talking to when he said, let us make man? Who was here with God that was about to help him make this man? When God was getting ready to make the sun, he didn't say, let us make some sun. He said, let there be light. And here the sun, a ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 853,000 miles in diameter, 14,172 degrees hot, and God can say, let there be, and that big ball of fire pop up in the universe with no help. Now you know something is wrong. It should be harder to make that than a man. A huge ball of fire, 2,679,785 miles in circumference, 14,172 degrees hot. That's a whole lot of heat. And God said, let there be, and it just jumped up into the universe. He didn't ask for no help. He said, let there be this and let there be that. He had so much power that everything he wanted came into existence. As soon as he said be, there it was. But when he got to the man, something happened. He said, let us make man. Someone else was there then, wasn't it? The white man's world is a newer world than the black man's world. Yet this man that they said that they were about to make, and he said, we'll make him how? In our image, showing you that there's somebody there with him. In our likeness, showing you that still somebody is there with him. Let us make man in our image and in our likeness. Let us make him look like us. He won't be the same as we are. He'll be our image. That's God talking, right? He's talking to somebody. Elijah Muhammad says that the birth of the white race is shrouded in the story of Adam. The story of Adam hides the birth of the white race. And because you and I have never been taught to look into a thing and analyze a thing, we took the story of Adam exactly as it was and thought that God made a man named Adam 6,000 years ago. But today, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that that man, Adam, was a white man. But before Adam was made, the black man was already here. And that's not easy, that's not hard to see. The black man always sees, the white man will even tell you that. Because he refers to Adam as the first one. He refers to the Adamites as those who came from that first one. And he refers to the pre-Adamites as those who were here before Adam. Right or wrong? Those people that were here before Adam. And he always refers to these people as aborigines, which means what? Black folks. You never find a white aborigine. Rather, aborigines are called natives, or they're always dark-skinned people. You and I are aborigines, but you don't like to be called an aborigine. You want to be called an American. Two Latin words, ab meaning from, origine meaning the beginning. And aborigine is only the term applied to those dark-skinned people who have been on this earth since the beginning of the universe. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that just as we pointed out there a moment ago, the black man has been here a long time. He never has had a beginning, but the white man has never had a knowledge of the history of the black man. The white man only knows about himself what he's been told, and he hasn't been told anything. He came to himself up in the caves of Europe. He can't get any information that goes beyond the caves. And since you and I fell into his trap, and was made deaf, dumb, and blind by him, now we don't have access to any information that the white man doesn't know about. So we think that the beginning of the white man meant the beginning of everything. Us too. We're not aware that we were here before he was made. Can you understand that? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that back 66 trillion years ago, but 66 trillion years ago, the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the universe, and the planet that we live on here called Earth. Next to the black man was here then. But at that time, like we have the sun, which is the center of the universe, and the planet that we live on here called Earth. Next to the 46 million miles from the sun is a planet called Mercury, and 67,200,000 miles from the sun, another sun is, from the sun is another planet called Venus, and 93 million miles from the sun is the planet here that you and I live on called Earth. 141,500,000 miles out here is a planet called Mars, and 483 million miles from the sun is a planet called Jupiter, and 886 million miles from the sun is a planet called Saturn, and on down the road a piece are a couple more planets. So right here, this planet that this planet that you and I live on called Earth, that rotates around the sun. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that 66 trillion years ago, our people were living on this planet. The black man was living on this planet. But in those days, it was larger than it is now. And the planet Mars that was off here beyond us had an effect upon our planet then in the same manner that the moon affects us today. At that time, there was no moon up there. Where was the moon? The moon was down here. The moon was part of this planet. The moon and this planet were one planet. And the black man was living here then. He was a scientist. He was a wise black man. Black men have always been wise. Black man has always been the wisest being in the universe. And among these beings, black beings, there is one who is supreme. He's referred to as the supreme. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that a wise black scientist 66 trillion years ago began to argue with the other scientists because there was something, he wanted the people of Earth to speak a certain language. And because they wouldn't agree, he wanted to destroy civilization. So this scientist drilled a shaft into the center of the Earth and filled it with high explosives and set it off. He was trying to destroy civilization. He was trying to destroy the black man. But you can't destroy the black man. The black man can't destroy himself. The black man has the most powerful brain in the universe. There is no intelligence more powerful than the intelligence of the black man. And because of this, the black man can't even create a thought that will destroy him. He's indestructible. You can blow up everything, and the black man will still be here. You just can't get away from him, brother. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said they filled the earth, the high explosives, and set it off. And when it was exploded, the piece that you and I today call moon was tossed out here into space, and it rotated around the earth. It still rotates around the earth. It came from the earth. It was blasted right out from the earth. And as it was blasted out from the earth, it turned over and over and over, and all of the water that was on it came along with the earth, stayed with the earth, so that the piece that was blasted out there has no water on it today. And because it has no water on it, it has no civilization on it, has no life on it. You can't have life where there's no water. Water is the source of life. Where there's no water, there's no life. Where there's no life, there's no civilization. Can you understand that? So this dead piece, called moon by us today, turning over and over and over, losing all of its water, all of the water coming with this piece. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that this piece, that the earth that we remained on, shifted, it dropped 36,000 miles in the pocket that we remained in. And as it dropped, and all of the water came with it, it left a situation where today he says the earth that we now live on weighs 6 sextillion tons. The weight of it is 6 sextillion tons. And as it makes its way around the sun, the strong power of the sun's rays striking the equator causes the planet to turn on its own axis at the speed of 1,137 miles per hour. Now you would say that, and he teaches us that the square mileage of the earth is 196,940,000 square miles, which means only 57,255,000 square miles of land stick up out of 139,785,000 square miles of water. 3/4 of the Earth's surface is covered with water, part of the water that left the moon and came with the Earth. So you may say, well, how come, since it's the natural law for water to seek its own level, why doesn't it overrun the land? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that as the Earth speeds around the sun, turning on its axis 1,037 and a third miles per hour, it creates gravity, and the strong attracting power of the sun pulls on the waters of the earth, pulls them up into the sun and up into the earth's atmosphere in a fine mist that the naked eye can hardly detect. And as this water gathers in the earth's atmosphere, it then distills and comes back to earth. After it gets heavier than the atmosphere in which it is in, it distills and comes back to the earth in the form of water, hail, or rain, or snow. All of the water that you see coming out the sky went up into the sky. Everything that's coming down on the earth got up there by leaving the earth. Do you understand? And he teaches us that it comes back down in the form of hail or rain or snow or whatever else you have, depending upon the temperature of the current of atmosphere that it was in. He says that at night the moon, the gravitational pull of the moon takes over. And because the power of the moon is not as great as that of the sun, once the attracting power of the sun is absent at night, then the moon takes over. And since it can't pull the waters up like the sun does, it still has that magnetic pull, and it causes the waves that you see out there on the ocean to churn. This is the moon that does that. The moon makes the waves go up and down. It never lets them level out. If it leveled out, it would overrun the land. It also causes the shifting of the tides. This is the pull of the moon upon the waters of the earth. If it weren't for the attracting power of the sun and the moon upon the earth, why, the waters would overrun the land and drown out civilization. All of this was done by man himself, not some mystery God, but a black man set this up. And you and I have been running around here in the trap that the white man put us in, thinking that the only one who can do anything either is a mystery God, and what the mystery God doesn't do, the white man does. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that all the time that this was going on, there was no white man. White man was nowhere on the scene. He says that when the moon was blasted away and we came along with the earth, in fact, one tribe was destroyed. Prior to the time that the explosion took place, there were 13 tribes. In the explosion set off 66 trillion years ago, the 13th tribe was destroyed. And then all of the time down through the wheel of time since then, there were 12 tribes until 6,000 years ago. And 6,000 years ago, a scientist named Yaqub created another tribe on this earth. Understand? Prior to the time the explosion took place, there were 13 tribes. But the 13th tribe was destroyed in that explosion. And from then until now, just 6,000 years ago, another tribe came on the scene. It was named, different from all of the 12 tribes that were here when it arrived. A new tribe, a weak tribe, a wicked tribe, a devilish tribe, a diabolical tribe, a tribe that is devilish by nature. He says that 50,000 years ago, another scientist named Shabazz became angry with the scientists of his day. He wanted to bring about a tougher people. He wanted the people to undergo a form of life that would make them tough and hard, and the other scientists wouldn't agree with him. So this scientist named Shabazz took his family and wandered down into the jungles of Africa. Prior to that time, no one lived in the jungles. Our people were soft. They were black, but they were soft and delicate. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the wise black man who was a master of science, he never wrote his history like it's written today of the past, but the wise black man in that day wrote his history in the future. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the circumference of the earth is 24,896 miles, approximately 25,000 miles. So he says the wise black man in the East writes history a year to every mile. He writes history to last for 25,000 years, not in the past, but in the future. He says that on this earth there are wise black men who can tune in and tell what's going to happen in the future just as clear. They can see ahead just as clear as they can see in the past. And every 25,000 years, he says that civilization reaches its peak, or reaches a perfection. And at this time, the wise black man can hear a pin drop anywhere on the planet Earth. And they sit down and write history to last for 25,000 years. After this history has expired, they put it in a vault and write a new history. This has been going on and on and on and on and on. So he says, in the year one of the cycle in which we now live, the king, he says, in the east there are 24 wise men. They're spoken of in the Bible as 24 elders, or 24 prophets, or 24... Muhammad says that when these 23 men are called together by this one, which makes 24. And these 23, presided over by the 24th, are spoken of in the book of Revelations, where John said he had a vision in heaven where there was a throne. And around the throne were 24 seats, and on the seats sat 24 elders. These 24 elders that are called angels are actually 24 wise black men who live right here on this earth. But no one knows who they are. At the end of every 25,000 years, this one calls all of them into conference. And they sit down at the holy city of Mecca. The history for the past 25,000 years has expired, and it's time to write a new history. So these scientists begin to tune in on the population of the planet Earth. And he says that back in this day, at that time, there were 5 billion people on this earth, all of them black, not a white man in sight. 5 billion people, not a white man in sight. So he says that when these 24 scientists begin to tune in, they look down through the wheel of time. They can tell not only what the people on this earth are thinking, but they can tell what their children are thinking, what their unborn children's children are thinking, what their unborn children's children's children are thinking. They can look right down through the wheel of time and tell minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, for 25,000 years exactly what is going to take place. And they discovered that in the year 8,400 to come, they would register among the 5 billion black people, 70% would be satisfied and 30% would be dissatisfied. And out of that 30% would be born a wise black scientist named Yaqub. And Yaqub would teach among these 30% dissatisfied, from whom he would come and create a new race, start a new world, and a new civilization that would rule this earth for 6,000 years to come. So they brought these findings back to the king. It was put in the book, and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that this was put into the history. And then when the year 8,400 came, Yaqub was born. When Yaqub reached the age of 6 years old, he was playing in the sand one day with 2 pieces of metal, 2 pieces of steel. At which time he discovered what is known as the law of magnetism, that unlike attracts and like repels. 2 objects that are alike repel each other, like 2 women repel each other. But man and woman attract each other. Unlike attract and like repel. Yaqub discovered this. So Yaqub knew that all he had to do was make a man unlike any other people on this earth, and because he would be different, he would attract all other people. Then he could teach this man a science called tricknology, which is the science of tricks and lies. And that this weak man would be able to use that science to trick and rob and rule the world. So Yaqub turned to his uncle and said, when I grow up, I'm going to make a man who will rule you. And Yaqub's uncle said, what can you make other than that which will cause bloodshed and wickedness in the land? And Yaqub pointed to his head and said, I know that which you know not. Yaqub was born with a determined idea to make this man, because it had been predicted 8,400 years prior to his birth that he would be born to do this work. So he was born with this idea in him. And when his uncle realized that this was he about whom it was prophesied, his uncle submitted. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Yaqub went to school in the East. He studied the astronomical sciences, mathematical sciences, and the germination of man. He discovered that in the black man there are 2 germs. In the black man there's a brown man. In the black man, or the black germ, which is the strong germ, there's a weak germ, a brown germ. Yaqub was the first one to discover this. And Yaqub knew that by separating that brown one from the black one, and then grafting the brown one until it became lighter and lighter and lighter, it would eventually reach its lightest stage, which is known as white. And when it got to that stage, it would be weak. And because it was weak, it would be susceptible to wickedness. And then Yaqub could take that weak man that he made and teach him how to lie and rob and cheat. and thereby become the ruler of all the rest of the world. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Yaqub began to preach. At the age of 16, he began to preach over there in Arabia, in the east. He preached among the 30% who were dissatisfied and got many of them to follow him. As they began to listen to Yaqub's teachings and believe it, his teaching spread. His followers grew, and it created confusion in the land. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that so much confusion came into existence over there that they threw Yaqub's followers in jail. And as fast as they were thrown in jail, they taught more people. So the teaching spread in jail. Finally, Yaqub was put in jail under an alias. And one day the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the thing began to get out of hand, and the authorities went to the king and told him that they couldn't control these people, but that they had the leader of the people in jail right now, and the king said, "Look, take me to him." And when the king went to the jail where Yaqub was, he greeted Yaqub. "Assalamu alaikum, Mr. Yaqub. I know you're Mr. Yaqub." And Yaqub said, "Wa alaikum salam, I am Yaqub." And the king said, "Look, I come to make an agreement with you. I know that you are the one that it is written or predicted would be on the scene in this day and would create a new race, and there's nothing we can do to stop it. But in order for us to have peace, we want to make an agreement with you. In order to stop the confusion, and for there to be some peace in the land, we want you to agree to take all who will follow you and exile yourselves out on an island in the Aegean Sea." Yaqub told them, "I'll go, but you've got to give me everything that I will need to bring into existence a new civilization. You've got to give me everything I'll need, that which will last me. You got to supply me with everything I need for the next 20 years. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the king agreed with Yaqub. And he says that you get this in the Bible where it says Jacob wrestled with the angel. Jacob was Yaqub. And the angel that Jacob wrestled with wasn't God. It was the government of that day. Angel only means a power, or somebody with power. When a man has wings, or when a man has his wings clipped, you say that he lost his power, lost his position. So wings only mean a position of power and prestige. So when it says that Yaqub wrestled with the angel, angel is only used as a symbol to hide who it was Jacob was really wrestling with. Jacob was wrestling with the government of that day, and he made the government of that day give him everything he needs to last him and his followers for 20 years. Just like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is telling the government of this day that they got to give us everything we need in our own separate territory to last us for 20 to 25 years. You say, well, so the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that Yaqub agreed, the government agreed. Yaqub took all of his followers down to the sea. And he says that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that Yaqub took 59,999 of his followers down to the seaside, with himself made 60,000. He piled them in boats and took them out to an island in the Aegean Sea called Pilar. In the Bible it's called Patmos. When you read in the book of Revelation where John on the island of Patmos for the word of the Lord, that was Yaqub. What was John doing on the island of Patmos? John was Yaqub. John was out there getting ready to make a new race. He says, for the word of the Lord. What was the word of the Lord? The word was that in the year 8400, a new man would be made. A new race would be made. And when Yaqub and his followers got out there, his followers realized that Yaqub was wiser than any man of his day. And they recognized him as a god. He was a god to them. So when you get there in the Bible where it says, and God said, let us make man, what was Yaqub do? Not the supreme being. It wasn't the supreme being who made the sun that said, let us make man. When the supreme being made the sun, he said, let there be light. He showed he was supreme. He was independent. He needed no help, no associate. But when it comes to making a man, that God said, let us make man. He didn't speak with independence because there were two different gods. God, the supreme being, made the light. His word is deed. That's how he makes things. But Yaqub, who was a lesser God, he said to 59,999 of his followers, let us make man. Let us make a man in our image and in our likeness. We're going to make a white man. Yaqub, this was Yaqub talking. Make him in our image and in our likeness, and give him dominion over the fowl of the air and the fish of the sea and the creatures of the land. And we call him Adam. It's only a name for the white man. The white man has taken mastery over the air. His airplanes rule the sky. His submarines and ships rule the sea. His armies rule the land. This was the man that was made 6,000 years ago, and the purpose for making him was so he could rule the world for 6,000 years. That's the white man. Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that first thing Yaqub did, he got his ministers, doctors, nurses, and cremators together. He gave them the law because he had to set up a birth control law. He told the doctors whenever two black ones come through to get married, stick a needle in their vein, take some blood, and go back and come and tell them that their blood doesn't match so that they can't get married. So he also said when a black one and a brown come, let them get married, or two brown ones come, let them get married. And then he told the nurse 9 months after they're married, when you go to deliver their child, if it's a black child, put a needle in its brain and feed it to a wild animal, let it be destroyed. But if it's a brown child, take that child to the mother and tell her that this is going to be a great man when he grows up, because he's lighter than the others. But they tell her that the child that you destroyed was an angel baby, and that it went up to heaven to prepare a place for her when she died. Same old lie that they tell you today. Little baby died, they say it went to heaven. A baby died, goes the same place a man goes when he died, right down into the ground. Is that right or wrong? So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad has taught us that Yaqub right there set up his birth control law. Within 200 years, they had killed off all the black babies on the island. Everything black on the island had been destroyed. And then Yaqub only lived to 150 years old, but he left laws and rules and regulations behind for his followers to go by. And after they had destroyed all of the black on the island of Pilar, then they began to work on the brown. They saved the yellow and destroyed the brown. Because see, in the black there's brown. In the ground there's yellow. Can you see how it goes? The darkest one always has a lighter one in it. So in the black man there's a brown man. In the brown man there's a yellow man. In the yellow man there's what? A white man. Oh yeah, getting weaker all the time. So it took 200 years to destroy the black. And then they worked on the brown for 200 years, and in 200 years all the brown was destroyed, and all they had on the island of Pilar was a yellow or mulatto-looking civilization. And then they went to work on it and began to destroy it out, so that by the time after 600 years of destruction on the island of Pilar, they had grafted away the black, grafted away the brown, grafted away the yellow, and all they had left was a pale-skinned, blue-eyed, blonde-haired thing that you call a man, but actually the Bible calls him the devil. That's the devil that the Bible is talking about. Oh, Lucifer, Satan, or the serpent. Because the lighter they got, the weaker they got. As they began to get lighter and lighter, they grew weaker and weaker. Their blood became weaker. Their bones became weaker. Their mind became weaker. Their morals became weaker. They became a wicked race. By nature, wicked. Why by nature? The book says, concerning the devil, he says, he was conceived in iniquity and born in sin. What does it mean? That it took, when Yaqub was, when the nurses, at the outside, the nurses had to kill the little black baby. But after a while, it got so that the mother, through having been brainwashed, hated that black one so much, she killed it herself. Killed it herself. And saved the light one. And right on down. For 600 years, in order for the white one to come into existence, the darker one was always murdered. This went right into the nature of the child that was being born. The mother wanted a light baby when the child was being conceived. Just went right into the baby. The mother hated black when the child was being conceived. This went right into the baby. So that at the end of 600 years of planting the seed of iniquity right into the brain, right into the mind, right into the heart, right into the nature of these people, by the time they got the white man, they had something that by nature hated everything that was darker than what he was. Why, they had to murder off the black in order to get to the brown. They had to murder off the brown in order to get to the yellow. They had to murder off the black, brown, and yellow in order to get to the white. And right to this very day, the white man by nature wants to murder black, brown, red, and yellow. You don't have to teach him to kill a black man. He does it for sport. He does it for kicks. He does it because it's nature to do it. Do you understand that? So in 600 years, now they got a devil on the scene. A blue-eyed devil. A blonde-haired, oh yeah. They was out here on the island of Ceylon. After Yaqub was dead. Yaqub was their father, but he never saw them. They never saw him. When the Bible, Yaqub was their God. When the Bible says no man has seen God, that's what it means. No white man has seen their God. None of them saw Yaqub because Yaqub only lived to be 150. That don't mean that no man can see God, the supreme being. While the book of Revelation said when he comes, every eye will see him. And Yaqub was dead. Then they packed up the bag and made it back into civilization. Yaqub had left them some laws how to go by. He left them a science called technology, how to divide and conquer. Yaqub told these people in his books, all you got to do to take over the world is lie. Go back among the black people. Take your woman and send her to the black man's woman. And let her lie about the neighbor across the street. And then send another woman to that woman to lie on this woman to that woman. And when they get through spreading those lies, and they all start fighting and killing one another, you tell them, let you be the mediator. This is the trick the white man used. It all comes from Yaqub. See, he's an underdog. He's a minority. And the only way a minority can rule a majority is got to divide the majority. This is the trick that the white man was born to execute among dark mankind here on this earth. Yaqub said, when you go back among them, lie one on the other, and when they start fighting each other, ask them to let you be the mediator. And as soon as you become the mediator, then you're the boss. White man has done this trick everywhere. Here in America, to the Indians. He sent one priest to the Indians in New York and another priest to the Indians in Pennsylvania. And both of them would tell lies to both Indians. And the Indians who had never been at war with each other would start beating the tom-tom, the war drum. And then as they got ready to come together and fight, the priest would run in and say, let me be the mediator. The New York Indians, you move out to Minnesota. And the Pennsylvania Indians, you move out to Oklahoma. That would leave the whole state of New York and Pennsylvania for the white man. You see how he does it? He's all over the world. He does it. He's a mediator. He's an instigator and a mediator. He instigates division and dissension. And as soon as they start fighting one another, he says, okay, I'll settle it. If you don't think so, look all over the world right now. Every place on this earth, you got a division. South Korea, North Korea. South Vietnam, North Vietnam. Right or wrong? He is the one that makes this division. He don't let nobody get together. But when it comes to his kind, it's united. United States. Meaning all white people are united. United States of Europe, or European common market. They want to get together. But when you start talking about a United States of Asia or United States of Africa, well, he said, oh, no, too many different languages. Y'all don't have nothing in common. You see how he does it? He always discourages unity among others, but he encourages unity among his own kind. United we stand. That don't mean you. You are, yeah, Negroes jump up and say, yeah, united we stand. They don't mean you. That means the white man. The white man is the one who stands united. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that these devils went back into Arabia. When they got there, they started telling lies. They started confusion. And in 6 months' time, they had turned heaven into hell. Oh yeah, I had so much fighting going on among our people, brother, it became hell. We never did fight each other. We loved each other. We're in harmony with each other. And when these devils came back into our midst, they turned our paradise into a hell. So it was taken to the king, and the king looked in the book and said, well, these are Yaqub's people. They were made to do what they're doing, and the only way we'll have peace is to get rid of all of them, put them all to death. So the king gave the order for all of the devils to be rounded up. And by devil now I mean all those blue-eyed, blonde-haired, white things. He gave orders for them to be rounded up there in the east. And they were rounded up. They were rounded up and taken down to the edge of the Arabian desert. They were stripped naked, stripped of everything except their language. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that we put a lambskin apron around their waist to hide their nakedness. We put them in chains and marched them across the hot sands of the Arabian desert. This is what the black man did to the white man, brother. This is what the gods did to the devil. Actually, if you think that I don't know what I'm talking about, those of you who are Masons, those of you who have gone into the Masons, you go through this and don't understand. When you go in, they put a lambskin apron around your waist. They put you in what's called the cable's hole, right or wrong. And then they make you jump up and down on an electric mat. Make you take off your shoes and make you put the juice in the mat and make you jump up and down. Why? What are they getting at? That's all a sign of what happened to the white man 6,000 years ago. It just don't. But you're supposed to be walking the hot sands when you jump up and down. Right or wrong? You all been in some of that stuff. They tell you that that's crossing the hot sand. And you go up to old Negro Mason and ask him, when you cross the hot sands, were you walking or riding? He'd say, I was walking. He's a fool. Because he was riding. He was riding horseback. He was riding on a camel. It was the white man that was in chains. It was the white man that had the apron around him. It was the white man that was walking the hot sand. We walked him at high noon. We wouldn't even let him walk at night. We stopped at night. And you know how hot the sands are, the sun and the sand is in Arabia. We expected the white man to die when we were running him out of the east. But that fool lived, brother. He lived. A lot of them died on the desert. And I might come back. In the Masonic. All of this is tied up in the Masonic ritual. When a man gets initiated into the higher degrees of that order, he goes through this. They put on the chain, they put on the apron, and they darken him up and pretend to be driving him across. And then when he gets up to the top order in those degrees, they tell him what it means. As a white man, they tell the white man what it means. A white Shriner or a white Mason what it means. The Negro never learns what it means. But it actually points back toward the time when the white man, who is the devil, and as they say, was cast out of the garden. When the Bible says Adam sinned and was cast out of the garden, this is what it is meant. And an angel was put at the east gate to keep him from coming back in when the white man was run out of the east by the Muslims 6,000 years ago into the caves of Europe. The people called Turks were put there at the straits of the Dardanelles with swords. And any old devil that they caught trying to come back across the water, off went his head. The book tells you that the angel had a flaming sword. And any time any of them tried to come back across, they were put to death. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the white man went down into the caves of Europe and lived there for 2,000 years on his all fours. Within 1,000 years after he had gotten up there, he was on his all fours. Couldn't stand upright. You watch your old cracker today. Crackers don't walk upright like black people do. They about to, every time you look at them, they look like they're going right down on their all fours. But those who have had some education, they straighten up a little bit because they're taught how to straighten up. But a black man can be the most dumb, illiterate thing you can find anywhere, and he still walk like $1 million. Because by nature he's upright. By nature he stands up. But a white man got to be stood up. You got to put a white man on the square, but the black man is born on the square. Can we prove it? Yes. Notice in the East, dark people carry things on the head, don't they? Just throw it up there and walk with it. Show you they have perfect poise, perfect balance. This comes natural to them. You and I lost our poise. You can't even wear a hat on your head hardly today. 1,000 years after the white people were up in the caves, they were on their all fours. And they were living in the outdoors where it's cold. Just as cold over there as it is outside right now. They didn't have clothes. So by being out there in the cold, their hair got longer and longer. Hair grew out all over their body. By being on their all fours, the end of their spine began to grow. They grew a little tail that come out from the end of their spine. Oh, yes, this was the white man, brother, up in the caves of Europe. He had a tail that long. You ever notice anything that walk on its all fours has a tail? That which straighten up don't have a tail. Because when you get down, see, it just make that spine come right on out. And by him being on up there just like a dog, he was crawling around up there. He was hairy as a dog. He had a tail like a dog. He had a smell like a dog. And couldn't nothing get along with him but another dog. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that all the beasts up in Europe wanted to kill the white man. Oh, yeah, they tried to kill the white man. They were after the white man. They hated the white man. So he says that what the white man would do, he'd dig a hole in the hill. That was his cave. And his mother and his daughter and his wife would all be in there with the dog. The only thing that made friends with the white man was the dog. Everything else hated him. He'd sit outside the cave at night in a tree with rocks in his hand. And if any beast come up to try and get in the cave at his family, he'd throw rocks at them. Or he'd have a club that he'd swing down and try and drive them away with. But the dog stayed in the cave with his family. The dog, and it was then, during that time, that the dog and the white woman amalgamated. The white woman went with the dog while they were living in the caves of Europe. And right to this very day, a white woman will tell you there ain't nothing she loves better than a dog. They tell you that a dog is a man's best friend. A dog isn't a black man's best friend. God is a black man's best friend. And a dog is the white man's best friend. They lived in that cave with those dogs. And right now, they got that dog smell. They got their dog lovers. Dog can get inside a white man's house and eat at his table. Look out of his plate. They'll kiss a dog right on the nose and think nothing of it. You're not a dog kisser. You don't see no black people kissing and rubbing noses with a dog. But little white children will hug dogs and kiss dogs and eat with dogs. Like that for 2,000 years. And at the end of 2,000 years, that the scientists in the East, realizing that it was originally predicted that the white race would rule for 6,000 years, and that they had already lost 2,000 years in the caves of Europe, they sent a prophet up there from Mecca to teach the white race, this race of death, how to become civilized again and get up on become upright and come back and rule like they had originally been made to. The name of that prophet was Moses. And this is why you have so many of what they call the secret books of Moses. Moses never went down into Egypt. Moses went into the caves of Europe and civilized the white man. It was Moses who went into Egypt and went into Europe, into the caves, and what we call raised the devil from a dead level to a perpendicular and placed him on the square. Moses taught the white man how to cook his food. Moses taught the white man how to build a house for himself. He taught the white man also some of the technology that Yaakov had originally meant for them. And it was Moses who put the white man back on the road towards civilization and told him that he's supposed to rule for 6,000 years, that much of his time had already been lost, but at the end of time, one would come who would destroy the whole white race. Moses taught them this. Now this is why when the Jews, 2,000 years later, the Jews were looking for the Messiah, and they thought that Jesus was the Messiah. And they put him to death because they knew when the Messiah comes that the Messiah was going to destroy that whole race of death. The Jews knew this. So they put him to death, thinking that they could stop him from destroying them. But actually they made a mistake because Jesus 2,000 years ago wasn't the Messiah. Their time wasn't up 2,000 years ago. Their time would not be up until 2,000 years later, the day and time that we're living in right now.